Here is my recap on Dexter Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Turning Bimini's. There's a lot of story threads in this episode. It'll be a little more, organized than the last review, but we've got... The first thing I want to follow up on with this review is the fact that if you didn't get all the way to my last review, there was a story thread I forgot to mention earlier, so it is at the end, and I'm going to follow up with that first. We had Batista, who ended up in a hotel room with an undercover cop as he was looking to have a relationship with a hooker, just to have a human relationship with somebody, and she agreed she's not going to turn him in as long as he guarantees that he's not going to do that again. Well, in this episode, Angel Batista does locate the cop who saved him and basically asks her out on a date, which does surprise her. And she is working undercover when he actually calls her, and she tells him during that conversation that she never dates cops. That's not the last we're going to see of her, but that's kind of what happened in this episode. We also had Masuka, who did not have anybody go to his presentation, and he's really upset about that. And they find another body in this episode, and it's another body that has been, had skin taken off of him, and when they're there, he's upset because nobody went, and Quinn tells everybody, it's because he's a disgusting human being. So he kind of clams up during this investigation, and he sits in the shadows, doesn't make any disgusting jokes, doesn't really say anything. He's just kind of there. We've also got Miguel's brother, Ramon, still kind of harassing Metro PD, but he actually goes there and has a conversation with LaGuerta and says, hey, you know what? I want to work with you guys. I want to be there to help you guys capture Freebo. I want to do all of this. It's all tied to these bodies. And LaGuerta does agree. She doesn't want to agree, but she does agree to help him, to co-op with them, unless they find out that these bodies have nothing to do with Freebo. If they're not tied to Freebo, then she's not going to allow him to help. So that's kind of what's going on here. We also have the kid who was watching Freebo's place that Dexter met in the very first episode of this season. They pick him up and bring him in. Deborah is about to get him to talk a little bit about what's going on, and Dexter's in the background trying not to be seen by this kid because the kid might recognize him. And Quinn comes in and says the mom says she's not giving consent for him to talk to the police, making Deborah think that Quinn has it out for her, like maybe Quinn went and got her to come in, and she's also being watched. At this point, it's very clear that she's being watched by somebody. She's kind of upset in this episode with how that whole thing's going, and again, it gets her a little deeper in with Quinn and what might be going on with his story. Now we're going to talk about Dexter and Rita. In this episode, at the very beginning, Rita starts to discuss at an ultrasound that maybe she and Dexter should get into a new place, a bigger place, and Dexter should get rid of his apartment. He flat out tells her no. That is not going to happen. That's not something he wants to do at this stage, and that really upsets and kind of takes Rita. It takes her, she's a little confused by this. Let's put it that way. And one of the reasons, obviously, that Dexter doesn't want to get rid of his place is because that's where he's able to go after his kills, put in the slides, so he doesn't want to get rid of his place because of that. At the same time, we've got Rita that starts looking at homes with Miguel's wife. Because one thing I forgot to mention in the last episode is that Rita actually got fired from her job because of her hormones. She worked at a hotel, and she would help check people in, and she had an outburst, and she got fired. So in this episode, she's kind of free to do what she wants, and she's actually out there with Miguel's wife, and they're looking at homes when Rita starts to bleed and has to go to the hospital. Now, at this stage, Rita is not able to get a hold of Dexter because Dexter is actually off on a kill, which leads us to the last part of the story that I'm going to talk about for this episode. We've got Dexter and we've got Miguel getting closer, and Miguel just kind of tells Dexter during a golfing session about a guy named Ethan Turner who has killed 2 wives in the past and is out free. Miguel knows he's guilty, but he has his hands tied because of the courts, and there's nothing he can do about it. And you know that Miguel is telling Dexter this, saying, hey, I kind of need your help. And Dexter decides, okay, I'm going to go after this guy, because later on, Prado actually calls Dexter saying he's going to miss a lunch that they were going to go to because he has to deal with the state not wanting to go after this guy, Ethan Turner. So Dexter takes that as a green light to go after him. So Dexter is taking his boat, getting it ready, when Miguel shows up on the dock looking for him and Dexter to go get food. Dexter says he can't. Now, Miguel at that point toys with canceling court to go with Dexter, not realizing what Dexter is about to go do. And in the end, Miguel decides, yeah, I'm going to go to court. So Dexter is able to go off and do what he was going to do. So he ends up showing up on a cruise ship that Ethan is going to with another female companion. So Dexter's convinced he's going to kill this female companion. So Dexter is able to go in, kill this guy, get in and get out and get back home. Later on, Miguel Prado tells Dexter that Ethan has been reported missing. He does let Dexter know that he's kind of figured out what's going on and tells him that, hey, you and I are very much kindred spirits. Dexter's not at that point to admit that, but that's where this is leading. Is he is definitely getting closer to Miguel Prado, and we've got some crazy things that are going to be happening in some upcoming episodes. So we will be talking about that. The next episode will be episode 6, which is the half point of this season. But that's my kind of recap on Dexter Season 3, Episode 5, which is called Turning Bimini's. So that's all I've got for you today. Please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You will be notified as new videos go up. Dexter has officially been pulled off of Netflix, so the only way you can watch it is if you have a subscription to the Showtime app, and you can watch it through there. It just left Netflix on, back in at the end of December. Luckily, I've got these on Blu-ray, so I'll be watching them that way as I continue to do reviews. But I will be reviewing every single episode, recapping everything all the way leading up to the new season, which will be Season 9 on Showtime later this week. Well, not later this week, later this year.